Directed by Camille Yildirim, who directed The Haunting of Lady Jane, we are talking The Foreboding, Fractured. So this is a 2024 short film, runs around 26 minutes. I'm not sure why it's called The Foreboding, Fractured, because it makes it sound like it's a sequel, but it isn't. But anyway, and it's a 26-minute short film, and it focuses on 4 university students who are going camping in the woods, and they take a few party favours along the way, and start up a campfire and tell ghost stories. But then they seem to have sort of strange visions, or potentially even haunting, where they could have the ghost of this story that they've just told. Are they being actually haunted? Is something kind of driving them to turn on each other, or are their visions being distorted by something else, and their perceptions about reality being manipulated or changed somehow? You'll have to watch the movie and find out. So let's discuss. Now, with a short film, obviously this is a film which is not going to be, released as a saleable product, so to speak. So obviously it's more of a calling card, more of a proof of concept. So we have to judge it in a slightly different way than we would look at, judging a more of a commercial movie. I will say though, I think this movie is of a quality where it could be included in some type of anthology. One of its key strengths for me, I think, is some reasonable characterization. And it's one of the issues I normally have with like segments of an anthology, is that because they're a shorter runtime, they struggle sometimes to really build any characters. Whilst this one, despite it only being, as I say, 26 minutes including credits, it still manages to actually build some characters out of our 4 members of the cast here. So I think that's pretty strong in regards to both the writing, direction and everything. And it even has a somewhat of a comedic edge that I would even liken to The In-Betweeners, which was a very popular British sitcom show that was a little raunchy, and you will have sort of a little bit of a reminder of that, just the way these younger people talk to one another and their kind of interactions. It's not a comedy by any stretch of the imagination, but you'll just have some slight sort of like that kind of remind, especially one character. It will remind you of one of the characters from The In-Betweeners, and it's a little bit like quite fun in that regards. The other main strength of this film is, I would say, is its kind of building up of this spooky atmosphere, foreboding, and it does what it says on the tin ultimately. This movie does manage to have a degree of sort of spooky eeriness to it, these dark woods, and the director here primarily works as a cinematographer, and I think you can tell because some of the kind of the use of shadows and light sources and things like this, the campfire, whilst everything else is kind of like sort of dark behind them, I think looks genuinely kind of like eerie and quite sort of like oppressive in some ways. So I thought the movie had, despite it clearly being obviously a lower budget affair, it having a visual kind of atmosphere here that I think really helps this film. And just to kind of, even though it's a short, it still manages to be quite well paced in regards to sort of drip feeding the kind of the horror elements to it. So it comes in not too quickly, but it's like when it is introduced, there is a build up to it, which I think is again pretty strong. So I think this movie is a good example of doing a fair amount with limited resources and kind of time and things like that. Where this movie may be a little lacking in areas, I think the overall plot is a little convoluted about what's actually kind of going on. Perhaps because of the short run time, I feel some of the elements here about what's actually happening seem a little bit sort of convoluted, and kind of a little bit of a shortcut has been taken in regards to building out the kind of the story to a large degree. I do think there is the acting is a little on the goofy side at times, not through the whole movie. As I say, I think some of the times you'll be reminded of, as I say, the in-betweeners, but I will say on occasion as well, some of the acting is on the weaker side, or a little bit kind of on the goofier side is the best way I would kind of describe it, and comes across as a little bit amateurish, shall we say. And then finally, the more overt visual effects, again, budgetary reasons here, it looks a little low budget, which it clearly is. You know, it is only kind of doing to the best that it could do on this budget. But, you know, yeah, it's when we see almost in regards to the spookier elements, it's more spooky when it's not being quite as overt, is the best way of describing it. When you don't quite know what you're looking at. When we do see what we're looking at, I think maybe then it looks like a VFX, you know. But I do think, like I say, this movie is strong enough to be part of like an anthology, and it be enjoyed as a sort of like a part of an anthology. So maybe this is what will be in its future. And there's definitely some on-screen and off-screen sort of talent in regards to some of the, you know, the potential that's here to go forward and stuff. So it's, you know, I would say it's worth a watch. So I won't mark a short film like this with a rating as such, but that's my thoughts on it. Please let me know if you've seen it.